Oh, yeah. Welcome. It is the final regular season week of NFL points, picks, and props. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me, Tommy Birch. Tommy, are you back in Massachusetts now or after
Yes,
your
I am.
winter vacation in Vermont? Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you back with us. Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois. I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. Before we get started, just wanted to obviously address this week has been an unusual week. Obviously, first and foremost, everybody's feelings are for Damar and the his full recovery, and obviously the he transcends anything football related. But there are 32 franchises. We are at the end of this season, and the business of football continues, especially now that the word is that he is starting to recover, and the upside of where he's headed seems to be apparent. So we are all ready to talk football. And a guy, I know Tommy. Obviously, you're a football player. Um, Seeing what happened had to feel a little different to you as somebody who currently is playing football.
Yeah, because like when you think about it, like it's almost like an out of body experience. It could be you out there, it could be your friends that you've bonded with for just not even like I'm a college player. I've played here for 2 years. He's been playing there. Like there's people that have been playing with him for longer. It's a lot. It's more than football, and it honestly, it makes this week a little more difficult. But it's a business, so you just got to keep it rolling.
Well, and one of the things you talk about is that community, the community of football players was really evident on the field there in Cincinnati as both teams recognized that the game was absolutely secondary, and they all came together. It was really lovely to see all those guys coming together like that.
Yeah, it was great, and seeing like all the different franchises and fans from different sports, they put aside the rivalries and like the hatred towards each other and just like join together. And then seeing his GoFundMe raise so much
Yeah,
money, and then it's honestly like really heartwarming to see that we really are one community and not divided by city and region.
absolutely. Well, we've got 16 full games to get to here for week 18. No Thursday night game, no Monday night game. So all of the games we are talking about, we got two of them on Saturday and 14 of them on Sunday. Uh, the NFL still hasn't officially said what they're going to do with the Bills and Bengals game, but we do know that week 18 is going ahead full speed, and we are here to help you break down the betting your best betting bets for each of these 16 games. They also have a lot of different meanings based on this being the last regular season week. We'll talk about that as well. As we do every week, however, we do start with a game to see who gets to pick first when they choose their favorite favorites, their top dogs, or their easy money line picks. Tonight's game, I'm super excited about. It is going to be the NFL year in review. These are all going to be questions related to this past NFL season. We're going to have different categories. I've got a game recaps section, we've got an individual performances section, and we've got a betting section. So, and obviously we'll have a tiebreaker just in case you guys are knotted up at the end of it. We got 10 questions to get through, five of you each. It is an even numbered week. That means Ben O'Connell, you go first. And your first question: Are you guys ready?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I have not written an article in 2 weeks. I am so ready for this.
All right. In week one, the season kicked off in Los Angeles with the Bills versus the Rams. Buffalo won that game 31-10. It was the second biggest margin of defeat for a Super Bowl champion beginning the next season. Who led the Bills in rushing that night?
Um, was it uh crap. It's from Florida Atlantic. I can't even think of his name all of a sudden.
To give you a hint, you certainly can think of this guy's name.
Oh, is it Josh Allen?
It is indeed Josh Allen. Josh Allen had 56 yards rushing, and he led the Buffalo Bills in rushing in week 1.
Wild.
Well done. Okay, Tommy.
I remember that.
In week 2, the Dolphins staged an incredible comeback at the Ravens. They trailed by as many as 21 points before winning 42-38. They got more than 400 yards of offense from Tua. Lamar Jackson also had 400 yards of total offense. It was a wild game. How many touchdown passes did Tua throw in the fourth quarter comeback?
Oh, in the fourth quarter. Didn't he have
Yes,
4?
just in the fourth quarter. He did indeed have 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, 6 overall, 4 of them coming in the fourth quarter. You guys were paying attention to football this year. Excellent. All right. Ben, this is to you. In week 3, the Seahawks and Lions played a wild game in Detroit, with Seattle eventually winning 48-45. Geno Smith and Jared Goff went over 300 yards. There were 12 total touchdowns scored and 1,075 yards of total offense. It was crazy. Which pass catcher for the Lions led all players in yards and touchdowns?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
It was not Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was TJ Hawkinson, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns for the then Detroit Lions tight end, who is now a Minnesota Viking. That's why I used the word pass catcher and not wide receiver. I was hoping that would be a hint. Okay.
Not smart enough.
Tommy, to you. In week 4, PJ Walker threw for an NFL season low 60 yards passing, and the Panthers lost to the Rams. This AFC quarterback had the week's high with 389 yards in a win over the Jaguars. Who was that person?
Who played the Jaguars in week 4?
389 yards.
389 yards, week 4, Jaguars. This is a tough one. I don't know the schedules. This is tough. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, well, do you have a guess?
Was it-
An AFC starting
in
quarterback.
conference play?
It was an AFC quarterback playing against the Jaguars. So yes,
This is
two
I'm
AFC
going to
teams.
use my it's probably a good quarterback.
389 yards.
Yeah, for some reason I'm thinking either Jalen Hurts or Kirk Cousins.
Well, Jalen Hurts definitely not, and Kirk Cousins definitely not, because they're not AFC quarterbacks.
Oh, AFC
quarterback.
I guess I'm gonna have to go with Justin Herbert.
It was indeed Matt Ryan.
Damn,
Ryan.
That was my guess. That was my guess.
Back when we all were amazed
Yikes.
at how the career resurgence that Matt Ryan was going to undergo with the Indianapolis Colts, and how the Colts were going to be a force to be reckoned with because of Matt Ryan. Remember how naive we were back in early October.
Yeah.
All right, so we end the game recap section. Both of you guys have one. All right. These are now individual performance questions. Ben O'Connell, to you. In the 2020 season, there have been 5 field goals of at least 60 yards. There have been 31 field goals of at least 60 yards kicked in NFL history. The 5 this season is the most made in any one season. Which kicker has the longest field goal this year at 62 yards?
Is it Tucker?
Is not Justin Tucker. It was Harrison Butker, 62 yards as time ran out in the first half against the Buffalo Bills. He had everybody else's field goals this year have either been 61 or 60. His 62 was the longest. Okay, Tommy, to you. There have been 2 running backs to rush for over 200 yards in a game this season. Who are those 2 running backs?
2 running backs to rush for over 200 yards this season.
In one game, yes.
Both of them.
Both of them.
I feel like I should know this like off the top of my head. I feel like one of them is definitely Derrick Henry.
One of them is indeed Derrick Henry against the Texans,
And
219 yards.
Other running backs that could have run for 200 yards. That's just the most like obvious one. Sorry for taking so long. Is it? I mean, I could just say Jonathan Taylor because he had a couple of good weeks, but I don't think he was. But I think he had like 160 one week. But I'll say Jonathan Taylor.
It was Josh Jacobs, 229 yards against the Seattle Seahawks.
So hard to remember
Dang.
how good Josh Jacobs is this year.
He's been phenomenal. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's been, I mean, this is the best year of his career by far. It is amazing to think that with Josh Jacobs having his season, with Devontae Adams still looking like a stud, that the Raiders can be as bad as they are.
They just
Okay.
need to sit him.
Okay, on to you, Ben. There have been 9 400-yard plus passing games this season by 7 different quarterbacks. Which 2 quarterbacks have gone over 400 yards twice?
Is it Hurts and and Allen?
Josh Allen is one of them. He went for 424 yards versus Pittsburgh and then 400 even against the Miami Dolphins. The other one is Patrick Mahomes,
Damn it.
446 versus Tennessee, and then 423 yards versus the vaunted San Francisco 49ers defense.
Why'd I talk myself out of that? That's crazy.
Okay, Tommy, to you. 2 players have gone over 200 yards receiving in a game this season. Who are those 2 players?
Justin Jefferson had 1. And the other player with 200 yards.
Justin Jefferson did indeed have 1, yes. He had 223 versus Detroit.
Was it Jamar Chase?
It was Mike Evans just a few days ago against the Carolina Panthers. He just did it. Week 17, Mike Evans wins the division with 3 touchdowns, 207 yards against the Carolina Panthers. Some schmo was throwing him the football that day.
We were just talking about it before the show, too. That's so disappointing. I might have been thinking of Jamar Chase last year. Didn't he have like 1 260-yard game or something?
He did. He did against the Chiefs, I believe.
Oof.
Okay. We have 2 questions remaining. These are both betting-related questions to Ben. This is for you. Which team has been the best team this season against the point spread?
It's been Philly.
It is the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 12-3 against the point spread. They have been fantastic against the point spread. Okay, Tommy, to you. Which team has been the worst against the point spread this season?
This is like a softball. This is Tampa.
It is indeed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 3-11-1 against the spread. And I believe, Tommy, that makes you the winner of our game. We will go ahead and do the tiebreaker question just because it's a fun stat and I had to go in and compile these numbers, so I want to not waste them. So the Red Zone channel famously shows us every single touchdown scored in every single week. How many touchdowns have there been this season? Total touchdowns in all 17 weeks. Closest wins the tiebreaker. It is more than 10. All right, for people not being able to watch us, they're just in silence.
I hate stuff like this because I'm such a bad estimator.
Count the touchdowns in the jar, and whoever's closest
that's
gets
hard.
to win the contents of the jar.
That's what I'm saying.
Ben's got to go first, right?
He does.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to not screw this up. Okay. And then there's like 17 weeks or 17 games for each team. Oh my goodness. I'm going to say
A lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm going to say 1,500.
Okay, 1,500 is your guess.
1,500. I'm going to go with 1,300.
Tell me you were closer. The correct answer is 1,196 touchdowns have been scored this season. That includes all defensive scores, special team scores, and all offensive touchdowns. 1,196. All right. So when we get down to our favorites, our top dogs, and our money line picks, Tommy, you will go first. We'll also have you present your one solo game here first. We're going to buzz through some of these games that don't really have much impact on the standings. There are no meaningless games in the world of betting, but in terms of games that we don't really care that much about, we are going to go ahead and start with the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so in a pretty meaningless game, Carolina's taking on the Saints. However, if we do see I like Sam Darnold. He's probably going to play. I don't know the health situation of PJ Walker. I think he might still be out. But regardless, they're still going to play. They're they're not going to they don't have playoff hopes. They're stuck in the realm of leaving and sitting on the couch after week 18. So, might as well go out with a bang, play all your starters, put in a real good fight. They've been pretty good lately, and I thought they put up a decent fight against Tampa before Tom Brady played like the second coming of Jesus Christ. So I like the Carolina Panthers plus 3.5 here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Just a couple of notes that I was looking at when I was looking at this game. The Saints are allowing 2.5 yards after contact since week 14. We've all seen what the Panthers have been doing on the run. They're killing it on the run, and the Saints defense second worst right now in the league in yards after contact. Panthers 6-2 when they don't throw an interception. Saints dead last in the NFL with 5 interceptions this season. I like the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that.
Honestly, I don't think I talk about that backfield enough, but I just got to give Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard their respect. Chuba Hubbard.
No, they're good. They're good. All right, Ben, that game is done. Let's go to your game. A game near and dear to your heart. Sadly, when the schedule first came out, we would have thought this would have been for playoff implications. It is now just playing out the string, although the Chargers may have some playoff seeding here based on this game. You want to talk about your Broncos?
Yeah, in a world where maybe half of the NFL will be in the playoffs, possibly. It's crazy that the Broncos can't even find themselves that close, but yet they always like giving themselves a good little fight. I like a spread that is over a field goal. I'm gonna take the Broncos at plus 3.5. If you find it at 2.5, I'd lean the other way or away from the game. I don't expect Denver to win, but it seems like they would lose this by a field goal.
Yeah, one thing about this bet that I like is that if the Ravens win earlier in the day, this is a late game being on the West Coast. They'll already know if the Ravens won or lost. If the Ravens lose, then the Chargers get locked into that 5 seed. So they may decide to go ahead and treat the game like a bye and rest a lot of their starters. If the Ravens win, then it's a different story and the Chargers will play to win. But it could be that the Chargers have nothing to play for and they treat this week like that, whereas the Broncos are looking to end on some kind of a high note. So your Broncos actually could win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cover that spread, just like you said.
I feel like with the firing of Hackett, that some of those guys in the locker room are probably going to really just want to, get a resurgence going and rally for the team, for the Broncos. And I would like to see them win here. And I feel like even if the possibility of the Ravens winning does affect their seeding, the Chargers have made the playoffs completely, and I think it has more to do with their matchup than anything. But I could see even with the Ravens, winning that game. I mean, losing that game, I could still see them taking out their starters at least halfway through the game or something.
Well, I'm certainly rooting for the Chargers to finish as the 5th seed because I would love to see Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence in the first round. That obviously requires Jacksonville to win, but I would love to see that quarterback matchup in the playoffs. Two young studs making their first playoff appearances in the same game would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun.
All right. The last of our 3 games that really have nothing to do, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs, they wrapped up their division last week. There's nothing else to say. Todd Bowles says we're not going to rest our players. Of course, you're going to rest your players. You've got a really old roster. You've got a quarterback who looks like he doesn't want to play football. Looked pretty good last week with Mike Evans. He and the two of them hooked up a lot. Got the 3 touchdowns, but I don't believe him for a second that he's not going to rest his players. I like the Falcons because of that. Obviously, Las Vegas likes the Falcons too. That's why they've got Falcons as a 4.5-point favorite. Atlanta runs the ball really well. They are third in the league in yards per game. That goes up 15 yards when they're at home. I think the Falcons can win this game because I don't think the Bucs care. Even if the Bucs cared, though, I think the Falcons could still probably win this game. But there you go. The last game of our nonsense.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna get the old geezers some rest. Get them in the trainer's room. Get Tom Brady his he's probably really sore right now, and he's not thinking about retiring. So of course they need to keep him healthy for the playoffs and for next year.
Gotta arrest this guy so he can go out there, have another miracle Super Bowl run, and trick the Raiders into paying him money.
I would not watch that Super Bowl.
Yeah, they've got to let Tom off early just because he's got to make the early bird special at the restaurant there.
Yeah, you know it.
All right, so on to the games that matter. This may be the least important of the 2 games that are going on, but I think they're going to be fun. It is the number 1 draft pick. We've got 2 games that are going to help decide this. We've got Minnesota -5.5 at Chicago, and the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts -2.5. This game is going to be, or the first game. Let's go ahead and take it. We are split. We're split on this game. Tommy and myself like the Vikings. Ben, you are about the Chicago Bears here. Nathan Peterman getting the start. Yeah, you're feeling good about Nathan Peterman?
I just Minnesota hasn't covered 5.5 since November. Something in my gut just says a rivalry match in the division. The Bears tend to have some fight or whatever, and Minnesota's MO is win but close. So I just see some craziness go. Also, I'm rooting for this one to happen because I may or may not be at this game. It's still to be determined. I'm not sure if I want to put myself through that misery yet. But if I do put myself through the misery, good Lord, I would love a nice close game.
Lord knows that Ben's gone through enough misery this season watching the Broncos play every weekend.
Yeah, why would I go to a Bears game after watching a season of Broncos football? Am I right?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why I am going with the Vikings here is the Bears are dead last in defensive DVOA. They're second to last in pass defense DVOA. And you have a gentleman over there on the other side named Justin Jefferson, who he needs to have a huge game to catch Cooper Kupp's season from last year or to catch Calvin Johnson. But as we already mentioned, he does have a 200-yard game this year. If he goes for 200 yards in this one, he will break the record. And the Bears defense not really great at stopping good passing teams. So it'd be fun to be there. It'd be fun to be there at Soldier Field just for that history.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's worth the cold though. Chicago winter. Ugh. It's nasty up here.
Chicago's cold in January.
Just a little, just a teeny bit.
All right, so we've got the Bears. That game, the Bears are they're a half game behind the Houston Texans. So, as we all agree, the Houston Texans can get it done against the Vikings, or I'm sorry, against the Colts. If the Texans were to win and the Bears were to lose, the Bears would get the number 1 overall draft pick. Right now, the Texans are in line. Do we see the Texans actually winning this game or just covering the spread? Where are you guys at?
Winning for sure.
Oh, they win.
They win.
They win.
What's the money line? Where is it?
Yeah. It can't be too hard because obviously the spread's not big. But oh no, I've got it written down. It's plus 126 is the money line on the Texans. So
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Terrible
I like the Texans winning, and then I like Chicago getting the first pick. I don't know. It just feels right to me. And then Nick Mullins. We love Nick Mullins. He's gonna go out there and throw some dimes.
Well, that's the thing is, does anybody on? I mean, obviously the front office would like to have the number one overall pick, but do the people on the field care? Lovey Smith's not going to care because he's not going to be around to pick that to make that first round pick. None of the guys on the Texans care. They don't care if they're able to draft Bryce Young. So I think the Texans are going out there to play to win.
For sure, absolutely.
If
Well,
the Bears get the go ahead.
I think Houston's is fine regardless. I Houston's roster is just that of they could honestly trade down to 8 and still find, incredible upgrades just lying around. I feel like regardless, like getting the first pick or not, Houston is in a world where they just need a lot of help,
And realistically, do you think
Yeah.
Chicago really wants that number one pick? I of all teams, I could see them being a team to trade away that pick or draft somebody that shouldn't be going number one just because, they do see promise in Justin Fields and the number one prospects are quarterbacks right now. And
Chicago doesn't take a QB. That's for
yeah,
sure.
for sure. And
No, they're not
I
taking
could
a
definitely
QB.
see them trading down and getting some extra draft capital.
Yeah, I think if the Texans are number one, they take a quarterback. If the Bears are number one, they trade out of that pick because obviously they've got some real problems. I mean, they're going to lose 14 games for the first time in their history, and the Bears' history goes back over 100 years. So
That's tough.
it's a really interesting thing because they have found their quarterback. He's super exciting to watch, yet they are awful. And typically, if you've got a quarterback who is good, you're not awful. So that speaks to still there's some rawness, obviously, with Fields, but it just speaks to just how awful the rest of the team is. They're terrible.
That
And
horrendous receiving core.
Yeah, does Matt Eberflus survive? I mean, it's only the first year, but man, they're just terrible. So
And it's hard. It's hard to believe that they're going to turn it around either. Yeah, I think that there's plenty of room for both of these teams to honestly shop the pick around and get value just because of how bad they're of the spot their rosters in, that the extra help is not going to hurt.
All right. Well, we are going to have some shows here this spring leading up to the draft. We will talk more about who are those top picks, who are the top 10 picks, all that good stuff later on in the spring. Moving on now to some of the football games that are going to determine playoff positioning. Let's go ahead and start in the NFC. This is for the number one overall pick, number one overall seed. We're going to start with the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Arizona Cardinals. They are giving 14 points, and all of us like the 49ers. Of course, the 49ers need the Eagles to lose in order for them to get the first pick, but we all think that they're going to handle the hapless Arizona Cardinals, who, as far as we know, they're running out David Blau again this week.
Yeah, try and do that against the Niners defense, please. I would love to see it.
Hey, the Niners defense struggled a little bit against Jarrett Stidham, his first career start.
I mean, the Chiefs struggled a little bit against the Raiders too. It doesn't really mean too much. The Raiders are streaky when they want to be, and just not when they're not.
I think it was just one of those games, one of those weird games for the 49ers. They're going to be fine, and obviously we all agree that they're going to run away with this game. One thing I wanted to get you guys' opinion on. So Brock Purdy is now the third betting favorite for Rookie of the Year. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, you've got Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, and then Brock Purdy are your three betting favorites for Offensive Rookie of the Year. A guy who has played in less than half the season, can he win Rookie of the Year?
He could, but honestly, as a Niners fan myself, I wouldn't agree with it. I mean, he's doing his job, but he's surrounded by so much talent. If you threw him in with a worse coaching staff and a worse team, you put him in a even if you put him on like the Chargers, he's not going to put up as many numbers and do as well as he did for the Niners. I don't want him to win Rookie of the Year. I don't think it's fair for like the voting process, and it would kind of make the rookie of the year voting seem more of a hype vote rather than a talent vote.
I think he can, and it comes down to a team that isn't his own. I think it comes down to the New York Giants. The New York Giants go out there and beat Philly, right? And San Francisco walks in with the 1 seed. I think it's going to be pretty hard for that narrative. Yeah, I think that narrative can drive you a really good, case in the voting. Again, do I think that deservedly he should be there? No, but I think that it is a pretty cool narrative that would be hard to beat. It's a pretty hype one.
As a fan, I wouldn't complain, but as a football connoisseur, I would be a little bit it wouldn't be my first choice for sure.
Tommy Birch,
All
the
right.
connoisseur.
Yes, the connoisseur of Tommy Birch. I may have a soundbite for that. Tommy, I saved all those sound bites that we used from last week, and a few that I didn't get to.
I'm a fake football fan.
Not a football connoisseur anymore.
Okay, so the next team that has an opportunity to get that number 1 seed in the NFC is the Dallas Cowboys. They are taking on the Washington Commanders. They are 5.5-point favorites over the Commanders. Tommy, you like the Commanders to cover. Ben and I believe that the Cowboys will cover. Why don't you, Tommy, go ahead and take us through your reasoning first?
So, from my knowledge, Carson Wentz is going to be benched for Taylor Heineke this week, and
Sam Howell. Sam Howell will be getting the start.
He's getting the start.
Rookie Sam Howell will be getting the start.
You know what? I want to roll with it. That actually makes me more confident. You guys know how I feel about my backup and rookie quarterbacks. I mean, some rookies, because you guys know how I feel about Kenny Pickett being garbage. But Sam Howell, I mean, the Cowboys might get a little too comfortable. They might get out to a 10-point lead, and they're going to be like, you know what? Let's put in Cooper Rush and relax because we're up by 10 at halftime. No, Sam Howell's going to show you what's up. And they need to make up for everything they've done this season, that like they had that hot streak and then just fell off, and putting Carson Wentz in the game is just so disappointing. But I actually like Washington to cover. I don't like them to win. Absolutely not. But plus 5.5, I could see it being a 4-point game. I could see it being maybe a 24-20 game or something around that range.
No, I mean, Washington's defense obviously is very good, and they've been playing great the last few weeks. Other than Ron Rivera deciding to make a fatal quarterback switch, and then look, maybe we should need to get into this real quick. So Ron Rivera doesn't even realize that his team could get eliminated from the playoffs last week. He finds out about it in the post-game press conference when he's asked, are you still feeling good about this, knowing that your season might end later today? And that was the first he'd heard of it. How is the coaching staff not talking about the fact that, hey, if we don't win this game and Green Bay wins, we're done? How does he not know that? He makes the switch to Carson Wentz away from Taylor Heineke, and that is the reality. And then Carson Wentz goes out and plays awful football. It was his first 3-interception game since 2018. It was just terrible. And I mean, we talked about this last week. That decision was really important for Rivera, and it blew up in his face. And I like Ron Rivera. I think he's a good coach, but you got new ownership probably coming into Washington. Do we just get a whole reset in DC and Rivera is gone? What do you guys think?
Yeah. And and honestly, he deserves it though. He's a cool dude. He does not. He should not be in the mess that Washington is. The state of Washington. If you remember, he kind of showed up, and then like everything kind of hit the fan. Like it's not what he thought was going to happen when he initially came in for those interviews. Like the dude is a wildly talented coach. I mean, look at what he did with Carolina. I think that it's best for his career just to get out and go somewhere else where he doesn't have so much pressure to be the face of the ownership and stuff, because Snyder's you can't show his face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is what he's unfortunately become. He's become like the face of the front office, and it's just not what he deserves.
He walked into something he thought was clean, and then he uncovered a mess. He walked into something that he didn't know he was going to be a part of. I bet he just walked in there ready to coach a football team, and then all of this really bad stuff just kind of like looming over him now. I mean, there is a lot of teams out there that need a head coach, and Ron Rivera is very good at his job and serviceable, at least at the minimum. And I would like to see him get out of there, but I feel like with new management, Ron Rivera could really help this team succeed, because I also think that management is holding him back a lot.
Well, I think he is a stabilizing force amongst his players, and he's a good coach. I like Rivera. He's a cancer survivor. The guy's a tough dude. He's a good dude. But man, going to Carson Wentz could not have gone worse. Ben, you and I think the Cowboys take this because they have something to play for, and to be honest, they're just a much better team.
Yeah.
All right, the last game of the number one seeds in the NFC, the most. This is the team that has it obviously in their grasp. Each of the last 2 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles have had a chance to clinch the division and the top seed. They have failed without Jalen Hurts in the lineup. Reportedly, Hurts is going to play this weekend. They are taking on the newly wild card clinching New York Giants. Brian Daboll, I think probably he's certainly my coach of the year. I would imagine that you guys wouldn't object to him getting coach of the year as well. Both of you, however, have taken the Giants to cover this 14-point spread. I am going with the Eagles. And for me, it's simply a case of the Giants don't have anything to play for. They are locked into the 6th seed. I think that they certainly guys like Saquon Barkley could use the week off. Those guys are going to get days off. But I really like this Giants team. I'm looking forward to seeing, especially if they're the 6th seed, that would set them up with a game against the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs. And we just saw them take the Vikings to the very last second before a 61-yard field goal lost it. But so I'm a proponent of the Giants. I'm excited to watch them in the playoffs. I'm excited to watch Daniel Jones. I just think because the Eagles have so much to play for here that they really turn it on. They're back at home. Their back's up against the wall in terms of not losing this division. I think they lay it on a Giants team that is just coasting into the playoffs.
I don't want to be like I don't think that Brian Daboll is the type of coach to just say, "Hey, let's be comfortable where we are and just rest," because there is something to play for, whether it be like internal or selfish. Like they don't want to lose in divisional play against the Eagles, and I think they're going to try and win. And I just think 14 is a really, really big spread. I don't think that the Giants win this game, but I don't see them going out without a fight. That's not how this team has been. This has been a team that, started from the bottom, and we didn't expect them to be where they are. I mean, we were just expecting another like sad Giants team for another year, but they fight, and that's what I love about them, and that's one of the reasons why I root for them when they play on Sundays, and I would like to see them fight and keep it close against the Eagles.
Yeah, it's hard for me to visualize this NFC East matchup staying, outside of that 14-point bracket. Also, when I locked my pick in full admission, I thought it was Gardner Minshew going to be taking those snaps there. But yeah, no, I could see this being close. 14 points is a major window.
All right, so that is who will decide the number one seed in the NFC. Moving over to the AFC, we've got the Two games will decide the number one seed there. The first game is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. They are 9 points favorites, the Chiefs are. And then you've got the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. They are 7.5 point favorites. We are all united that the Chiefs will beat the Raiders. For me, I'm still not a believer in Jarrett Stidham. I think it was one of those fluky things. I think he will come back to earth. There's a reason why he has been a lightly used backup for the 4 years of his career. He will not do much against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a lot to play for, including this number one seed. Now, the NFL, by the time you actually see our show or listen to it on the podcast, the NFL may have decided to completely change how that number one seed looks. There's been talk that there's going to be an AFC championship game at a neutral site. Maybe there's 8 teams in the playoffs so that nobody truly is a top seed. They obviously want to make up for the Bills-Bengals game that has been suspended. And right now, again, the word is that they're not going to play that. The Chiefs, because of that, are a half game ahead of the Bills right now. And if they win, they would obviously stay ahead of the Bills, assuming Week 17 isn't played. But more than that, Patrick Mahomes, 430 yards away from the single season record held by Peyton Manning. He has twice in his career gone over 400 yards against the Raiders, including in Las Vegas last year. Could he do it? Absolutely. Could he do it against the Raiders in Week 18? I get it. I guarantee he's going to give it a try. So I like the Chiefs to cover that 9-point spread.
Yeah, I would probably pick the Chiefs up to what we saw for a spread for the Giants-Eagles game. I don't see Vegas really having anything to compete for here. I mean, Jarrett Stidham is going to look like hot garbage, but I do like the idea of Stidham putting up a fight because he did compete against a very powerful defense, and it's just. But you know how I feel about backups. Once they get their one game in, you don't see a lot of like really hyper successful weeks following. It's rare because you just don't get film on them. A lot of teams warp their offense around a backup quarterback, change up some plays, put some things in they haven't seen before. But Chiefs have seen it, and the Chiefs want that number one seed really badly.
Yeah, Chiefs want to roll in with a lot of momentum. I expect just a giant beatdown of the rivals. There's no love lost in this matchup whatsoever.
No, these teams have hated each other for 60 years. All right. The second game that will determine the number one seed, the Buffalo Bills hosting the New England Patriots. This game is meaningful to both these teams. Obviously, the Bills still with a shot at that top seed. If they lose this game too and the Bengals win, they could drop all the way to the 3 seed. Meanwhile, you've got the Patriots, who are a win and in team. They win this game, they are guaranteed a playoff spot, that 7th wild card spot. So both teams incentives to play for. Obviously, a strange week for the Bills this week. I think that they kind of rally around their teammate. They've become closer over the course of this week. The stadium there in Orchard Park is going to be bananas on Sunday. They've got a lot to play for. Even if they don't expect, they'll already know it because the Chiefs game is on Saturday. They'll already know if the Chiefs have won. I don't think that matters to the Bills. I think they go out there and they play really, really well against the Patriots.
I mean, I don't know if Ben wants to talk first because he also sides with you on the pick, but I guess with the Patriots, like divisional play, I want, and I know that the Bills should and will win this game, right? I am with them. I'm rooting for the Bills, and I completely believe that they're going to come out of there with a big W. But it is divisional play, and New England is fighting for a playoff spot. They're going to have some fight in them, obviously not as much as the Bills, but games in division, even with like from top to bottom of the AFC East, always tend to be close. And for the storyline, for everything that's going on, for the Bills to come out of here in a close win, I feel like would would kind of set it all in the right direction, and it would feel like the right thing, right? A nail biter that the Bills come out on top. I could see that being like that's like best case scenario. It's gonna make everybody feel like everything was worth it. Like a blowout would be nice, but it's gonna feel real good to get out of a close game alive.
I think that doesn't happen, Tommy. I think it's just a total smackdown rallying around that. I think that they're just, they're officially the team of destiny this year going into the playoffs. If you didn't already have that energy about this team, we already, you could tell there was something about this team going into it and this adversity that they're overcoming in this hurdle that they're facing currently. Just makes you really feel like there's something special about this team. I think that they're just going to go out there and beat the socks off of the New England Patriots. I like it over 10 points.
All right. So the AFC number 1 seed will be determined by those 2 games. And obviously, as we mentioned, the Patriots playing for that 7th wild card seed. If they win, that spot does belong to New England. But if the Patriots lose, then there are a number of other teams ready to take over for that. The first is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have the opportunity. In fact, I think that point spread is wrong. I think the Jets are favored by 1 there. But we all believe that the Dolphins are going to win this game. And obviously, if the Patriots do lose, then a win by the Dolphins sends them into the playoffs as the number 7 seed. They obviously not expecting Tua back. We're not quite sure if Teddy Bridgewater is going to play. He's got his dislocated pinky. They could be down to their 3rd string quarterback. He did play earlier this year, and obviously they still have terrific weapons around him. The Jets, nothing to play for now. One important note about this game, both of these teams come into this game on a 5-game losing streak. So something's got to give. Somebody actually has to win this game. We seem to all agree that it's going to be the Dolphins.
Skylar Thompson is not awful. I mean, he went in and like for the first couple of series, I was at the game. He didn't look like he was comfortable. He looked like he was a little rattled, and he made some bad plays. But towards the end of the game, he had that last drive, and he threw a great pass into the end zone. And I think that with if Teddy has decided not to play, he's definitely splitting some ones reps with Teddy. Well, even with Teddy like sidelined, if he hasn't practiced or if he's been limited in practice, Skylar's been getting those ones reps, which he hasn't had. He's going to go out there and he's going to be more comfortable in the offense, be more comfortable with his weapons, and we're going to see a better quarterback than we saw last week. And that's saying something because he didn't play incredibly bad last week, especially regarding the circumstance.
I think that Miami is definitely counting on the Patriots to lose, and so that I feel like they really think that they have their destiny in their hands here, and I think that they're gonna go break the streak. I think the Yale kid's got something up his sleeve. They're gonna get in, scratching and by their fingernails, just clawing in. But yeah, I like the Finns in this one.
Yeah, there was a report today that if the Dolphins lose this game, that would be their 6th straight loss, that McDaniel and his staff and the front office might all get fired. I think that would be a huge overreaction and a massive mistake, and McDaniel would land on his feet. I think he's proven to be an excellent head coach. Again, it's just a report, but I think that would be absolutely stupid to dump him after the kind of year he's had. And I don't think that he's going to lose this game anyway, but still, that would be crazy to do.
Well, maybe I'm rooting for them to lose now so he can come to Denver. Goodness.
You're getting Jim Harbaugh. You're going to have Jim Harbaugh as your coach.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, he's like,
that's what I want.
No, Jim Harbaugh's 2-9 in bowl games. You're going to be fine.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the Dolphins are to lose, however, so we got the Patriots to lose, we got the Dolphins to lose. There still are. Sorry, drop that up. there still are other teams that could take that spot. The Pittsburgh Steelers being next in line. So if the Patriots lose, the Dolphins lose, and the Steelers win, then they will be the wild card team. Again, the point spread on there is actually 2.5 points for the Steelers, not 3. I don't think it probably matters to any of our bets. We are all on the Steelers here against the Cleveland Browns. Guys, what do you like about Pittsburgh in this one?
I like everything about Pittsburgh in this one. I mean, we are riding on a Mike Tomlin winning season again. And I mean, if we're talking betting, like the Steelers getting a winning season is 100% since Mike Tomlin has been coaching. So I love the Steelers to win this game. The Browns are bad. They need to bench Deshaun. They're never going to because all that money they're giving him. But if we're talking about if they were in a money-free world, Jacoby Brissett would be starting this game. I think that this is going to be it's a must-win game, obviously, and I love that Najee Harris actually came out to play last week. He had one of his best, if not his absolute best game since entering the league, over 100 yards rushing, and he had a receiving touchdown to win the game. There's really not much more you can say than this Pittsburgh team is a completely different team than what we saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. You know what? If we're talking about an 8-8 Steelers team, you know, we all know the Mike Tomlin lore here. You know, little male nudity, because call him Magic Mike. You know, he's gonna find a way to pull through, get this win. It's just what happens. You know, and when it just somehow makes sense for Miami and New England to lose, and somehow for us to get the Steelers in the playoffs. Like, wouldn't that just somehow make sense in the NFL world? And then they somehow win the wild card game, and we're like, are they good? And they won't be. But wouldn't that just make sense? Call it Magic Mike, see what happens. I like the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers snuck into the playoffs at the end of last year, and they got mollywopped by the Chiefs in that first round there. One little tidbit I discovered in looking at this game: the last time Cleveland finished a season with a record better than Pittsburgh was 1989. That was the last time the Browns were ahead of the Steelers in the standings at the end of the year. If the Browns win this game, they will both be tied at 8-9. So that streak is not going to end this year. I think Pittsburgh's on a mission. They are going to win this game. One last note: if the Steelers were to lose as well, and you had the Patriots, the Dolphins, Steelers all lose, if the Jaguars lose their game, and we'll talk about that game here in a minute, then the Jaguars would be the wild card. But that odds makers are saying that's a less than 1% chance of happening. All right, so that's the AFC's 7th spot. Now on to the NFC's 7th spot. And the game that will take place first on Sunday during the day is the Rams at the Seahawks. We all believe the Seattle Seahawks are going to cover this spread. The spread is 6.5 points. We think that they're going to win by at least a touchdown. They looked great last week. They obviously needed that win, and they were dominant. Playing against a pretty bad Rams team. I know that the Rams have allegedly been better with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback, but I was again looking at some of these numbers. They're not great. They're 14th in EPA with Baker Mayfield. They beat a Raiders team that crapped the bed. They beat a bad Broncos team. I mean, yeah, it was a big win, but that was because Russell Wilson kept giving the football back to them. I'm just not impressed by the Rams. I don't think, sadly, because obviously we need this. If you're a Lions fan, if you want to see the Lions in the playoffs, you'd need to see the Seahawks lose. But I think that they're you got Pete Carroll. I think he's going to come up with something. I think you've got Kenneth Walker, who's playing well. I think he solidifies his Rookie of the Year He'll go over 1,000 yards in this game. And obviously, Geno Smith is a Pro Bowler. He hasn't necessarily looked like it recently, but I think he has a good game against this Rams team.
I think that this is like the best time for this team to really like show that they are worth a playoff spot. I mean, we've been talking about it all year, and then it's been up and down. They started off so hot, everybody was so excited. Geno Smith was the second coming of Christ, and then it just went downhill really fast. But I mean, this is the perfect game to end the season for Seattle. The Rams, I mean, they don't really have much to play for. They're not playing for a number one pick, and they're not playing for a spot in the playoffs. They're in that weird gray area right now. They got nothing, absolutely nothing, and Seattle they're going to be fighting for something. I mean, I don't think the Rams are horrible with Baker Mayfield. I think they're all right, but Seattle's going to whoop them, roll through them.
I think the Rams are horrible with or without Baker Mayfield. This season, they're just absolute horse crap. I like Seattle to win by a touchdown easily.
All right. So if the Seahawks do win, then we go to Lambeau Field on Sunday night. And at that point, only the Packers could go to the playoffs. The Lions would be eliminated by a Seahawks win. But if the Rams win, then this game will determine the last seed in the NFC. I like the Packers to get it done. You guys both like the Lions. The point spread is 4.5. The Packers favored by 4.5. So let me start with you guys. Then, do you see the Lions just covering this spread, or do you think that they actually can win this game and put themselves in a position to make the playoffs if Seattle loses?
Oh, they're gonna full on win. They're gonna full on win this game. Just they don't know that they need Seattle to lose. You know what I mean? Like in their head, just win this game, get it done, control what we can control. I feel like that's how Dan Campbell's going to bring this team together, bring them into Green Bay. It's a fun divisional rivalry. They know that they're the underdogs. Once again, they thrive in that element. I think I'm a believer. Every time I'm a believer, by the way, they totally don't get it done. I need that to be on the record as well. Like, I'm fully aware of that. But, oh, no, they're going to win this time. They're going to win this game.
I love the Lions to come out here and win this game. I think that, Detroit has been the laughing stock of the league for the last however many years. They've been a joke. And Green Bay has been consistently a playoff team this decade, and I think the Lions they got a little bit of anger built up in there. They got a little something in there. It's like, you know what? I want to show these Packers how it's done. And I know I said that about the Vikings, and that didn't turn out too well for me. But Dan Campbell's a different beast. I think this team is going to go out there with a goddamn rage. And I don't think they're just going to win this game. I think they're going to win comfortably.
Well, for me, look, I like, that I've been on Dan Campbell all season long. I love him. I love the Lions. So these teams met in week 9. It was the absolute worst game for the Packers of the season, and maybe in a number of seasons. One of the worst games for Rodgers of career. He had 3 interceptions, 2 of them in the red zone. That doesn't happen again. They're not going to repeat that. But since that game, so from week 10 on, both these teams have just been played great football. The Lions, from week 10 to now, number 1 in the NFL in offensive EPA. The Packers are 5th in offensive EPA. Both those are ahead of the Bills, the Bengals, and the Eagles. In DVOA since week 10, Detroit is 3rd behind Kansas City and San Francisco. Green Bay is 6th, just behind the Bills and Bengals. So these 2 teams have been playing really good football these last 2 months. So again, I hope that the Lions win. I think it would be a lot of fun to see them in the playoffs. In terms of my betting dollars, though, I am going to go on the over here. 49 is the over. You got 2 offenses that have just been playing great football. I think even though that the Lions may realize that this game isn't for a playoff spot, Dan Campbell is going to make sure his team is motivated. Nobody's going to care. It's the last game of a good season for Detroit, a good turnaround season for Detroit at Lambeau Field. They're going to want to beat the Packers. They're going to want to beat their division rivals and keep Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs. I don't think it happens, but I do love the Lions' motivation here, and I think both these offenses play well. And I am putting money down on 49 over for this game. All right, that is the end of the NFC. We do still have some business to take care of in the AFC, and that is starting with the AFC South Championship on the line in Jacksonville. Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags favored by 6.5. Ben and I like Jacksonville. Tommy, on the Tennessee Titans. Is it a Joshua Dobbs situation here that you? I'll say he looked much better than Malik Willis.
I mean, yeah, I think not necessarily from a quarterback standpoint. I mean, Joshua Dobbs, he has his experience in the league, and he made some good throws, and I think he was serviceable at his job. He obviously looked better than Malik Willis. He's had a lot more time in the league than Malik Willis, but obviously, I am 100% for the Jacksonville money line. Jacksonville is winning this game outright. But 6.5 just seems like a bit much for me, especially with a game like with two teams that are so close in record and so close in standings, and with so much divisional and like even possibly playoff implications here. I mean, I think that the Titans are going to come out here with a little bit of, some juice. I think they lose. I cannot state that enough. But, a 5-point game seems within the realm of possibility.
Well, for me, it's look. Let me defend the Titans here real quick. Obviously, they've had this massive losing streak, but in that losing streak, they've lost to the Bengals, the Eagles, the Jaguars, the Chargers, and the Cowboys. All of those are playoff teams or soon to be playoff teams. They're not losing to bad teams. They did have the one loss to the Texans, but otherwise, during this losing streak, they've been playing really good football teams. Now, they have not played well. Their defense has not been good over that losing streak. Their defense is 31st in defensive EPA. They are dead last in defensive dropback EPA, and they're so buried. There's no chance that they will climb out of the cellar, no matter how good they play in this game. Jacksonville, on the other hand, top 10 in deep passing, and since the Jags turned it around and they've gone on their streak, Trevor Lawrence is 6th in EPA among quarterbacks. That is ahead of Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. Lawrence has been playing great football, and this Tennessee defense, to me, just cannot contain him. Derrick Henry's rested. I think he'll have a good game, but I just like the way Lawrence has been playing, and I just think Jacksonville at home wins this game by a touchdown or more.
I mean, these two met not too long ago. Jacksonville took care of business when Tennessee had Tannehill. They took care of business by like 14 points in Tennessee. I like the Jags to do it again here. Their defense have been playing phenomenal as of late. They held the Jets and the Texans to 3 points each. Noted, they're both the Jets and the Texans. But I'm not sure that Tennessee is going to be able to do too much more than Jacksonville, and I think that Trevor Lawrence is truly coming into his own, and we're starting to see what the young era of Trevor Lawrence is going to look like. That he's just, I just don't see a scenario in here where he doesn't lead this team to a divisional win in what should be considered truly his first season. I just love this Jacksonville team. I've been hot on this Jacksonville team since preseason. I just really want to see it get done here. So I'm admittedly a little biased towards that, but yeah, I like Jacksonville to take care of this by a touchdown easy.
I'm totally with you on that.
Tommy's on board. He's on.
Yeah, just flip the graphic real quick.
I just want to see Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. I think I know Doug Peterson back in the playoffs. I think that would be a lot of fun, even if it's only for 1 week. I just want to see it. This is not the last game, however, of the night. We do have one more. This is the AFC North. Now, we thought maybe at the beginning of the week that this was going to be for the NFC North title. It sounds as though the NFL is going to declare the Bills-Bengals game a no contest. That's the reporting right now. Nothing has been official. If that's the case, then the Ravens can no longer catch them in the division. The best they can do is finish a half game behind them. But both these teams are obviously very good. They're both in the playoffs. This could have seeding implications for both the Bengals. If they win this game and the Bills lose, then the Bengals could be the 2 seed. The Ravens right now are the 5th seed, or I'm sorry, they're the 6th seed. But if the Chargers lose and they win, they would move up to the 5th seed, and then it would be them playing the winner of the AFC South. So there's still a lot to talk about for this game, even if it's not deciding that division. We all on the Bengals here. It's a clean sweep. Bengals are favored by a touchdown, and the 3 of us all picked the Bengals to cover that spread. And for me, it's simply Joe Burrow other than the fact that he trails Patrick Mahomes both yards and touchdowns, if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow is your MVP. And there's so many good players on this team. Jamar Chase goes out, and it was no big deal because they had T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Their defense struggled a little bit. So what? They scored a bunch of points. When their offense struggled, the defense played great. I think this Bengals team, it's hard to remember back when they were 3-3 because they look nothing like that team now. And I can't see a Lamar Jackson free Baltimore Ravens doing anything. Lamar Jackson, I don't think would make much of a difference, but even, without Jackson, it's all Cincinnati here.
Yeah, even if Jackson did play, I mean, he's coming off of so many weeks of not playing, and he's still, banged up. Regardless, I think Tyler Huntley is bad. I liked him a lot coming into the season as a backup. I thought that he was serviceable, but he's not. He has lost too many games, and the Bengals are too good. I think, plain and simply, the Bengals are going to run away with this.
So it might be a small thing, but it definitely looks like the Bengals are a little bit more comfortable playing outside now that they got their indoor practice facility. A long time coming, and somehow kind of helping them out here in this late stretch as they look fiery hot and not completely worn out and beat up by the weather come game day.
So we're all in agreement there. The Bengals are going to win this game. That is the last of our games. Before we get to our final segment where we make our big picks of the week, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Lamar Jackson situation here. So this is the 2nd year in a row now that he is going to finish the season on the bench. Now he may come back and play in the playoffs, but 2 years in a row now that they have missed him the end of the year, and it has cost him dearly. He is a free agent, or he can be tagged, but right now he does not have a long-term contract. Clearly, this team needs him, but the question becomes, can this team rely on him? Do you give him $200 million guaranteed? He's a unique talent. He was a unanimous MVP, one of the true stars of the league, but his style of play has now gotten him injured 2 years in a row. And what kind of commitment can a team make to a guy that right now, this early in his career, is already missing games? I'm just curious to what your thoughts are on that.
It's tough because as much as Lamar has been inconsistent with his injuries, he is so vital to this team, as we have seen through the last few weeks. He runs this team, and I think, Kyle, you mentioned it before. There's not another team in this league where if you take one player out, the entire offense shuts down completely. They may not want to give him that much money, and it may not be reasonable in 95% of circumstances for them to give him that money. But in the position they're in, where they need this guy, and if they lose him or he goes and signs somewhere else for more money, it's game over for them. I see the Ravens front office being stuck in a position where they have to pay him that much money because they don't have a choice. If they tag him, they're going
Yeah.
to be on his bad side. If they let him go, they're screwed. And they can't offer him less money because when he does play, he's the reason the team wins. They don't have, there's no route that I can possibly conceive where they, unless he like understands his situation and accepts less money, there's not a place in this game where he is going to get paid less because everything just ends in a dumpster fire for the Ravens unless they do. But what makes that difficult is then they're going to have less money to spend to surround him with good guys, and his receiving core is damn near the worst in the league. It's not, but it's close. Obviously the Bears are much worse than them, but they you know, you got super hot trash catching the ball from Lamar Jackson, and then you're making him like, they are the reason that he's being put in the position to get injured. Because if he had guys that were more talented at receiver, getting open a little quicker in their routes, he'd be getting the ball out maybe in the pocket a little quicker. He wouldn't have to roll out. He wouldn't have to run for 100 yards a game for this team to win. He could play more comfortably in the pocket because we have seen that he can throw the ball in the pocket and succeed. He is a good passing quarterback, and he can run the ball as well. He's versatile. And I hate to be on this rant right now, but this team like needs him, and with this money, it's going to be really tough to make him succeed. So I just find this situation really tough regardless for the Ravens. Whether they give him that much money, they're going to be lower on contract money for better guys, and if they don't give him that money, they're done for. So regardless, I just see this being a poor outcome for Baltimore.
Yeah, it's just really who else can you find? You know, if it comes down to what's your alternative for me. If you're Baltimore, you lose Lamar, who's going to be under center for you next season? And conceivably, who can play at a level or will be cheap enough that you can elevate the rest of your team to the production of the offense is still what it was, because that is abundantly clear is necessary, you know, from this Baltimore team, that they are having issues getting production done without Lamar. And so you either need to find a quarterback that's worse and just bolster up your receiving core and your backfield and in your line and just assume that your unit's going to play better, or you shell out a ton of money, save the face of your franchise, keep your face of the franchise in. But yeah, it just seems like an unsolvable puzzle for them because they just, in my opinion, mishandled the this contract and the timing of all of it. They just put themselves in such a lose-lose situation.
And then also added on to that, I just wanted to mention this. The Ravens offense is built around him. They rely on Lamar Jackson's play and his style of play for that offense to succeed. If he's gone, they need to revamp everything. If they get a pocket passer quarterback and they get somebody that's not, because there's not another guy in the league that plays at like Lamar, or if they do play like Lamar, anywhere near as well as Lamar does it. They're gonna have to revamp their playbook and maybe even just make some huge trades for guys they don't really want to trade, but they have to because it doesn't work with their system anymore. I mean, like, the only feasible option for this team to remain in the wild card push is to keep Lamar and to give him that money. But it's not going to bring them any long-term success. They're not going to be a Super Bowl contender. I don't even see them being an AFC Championship contender.
Well, there has been talk that offensive coordinator Greg Roman may be the guy who is the sacrificial lamb here as this team is limping to the end. But, you know, as we've talked about a lot, you're one of two types of teams. You either have your quarterback or you're searching for your quarterback. And when you have your quarterback, you do everything you can to hold on to him. The Ravens have their quarterback, and they really are in a position, as you said there, it's a no-win position. They have no choice but to try to hold on to him, because you do not want to have to go back on that quarterback carousel where you are filling in guys like Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz and or Jacoby Brissett, or this coming off season where Derek Carr is going to be available. You don't want to be on that carousel of finding somebody who is your fill-in quarterback when you just let your franchise go away. There'd be nothing worse for Ravens fans than to watch Lamar Jackson go off and win another MVP for a different team. They would want the Ravens front office heads on a spike there. So anyway,
really quickly though, like even worse for the Ravens, they would get nothing for it. That's the biggest issue. It's a net loss if he walks. Like you literally have just taken 5 steps backwards without even gaining a piece to move yourself forwards. And that's what's crazy about this move.
Yeah.
And the reason they should have given up the money earlier, because even if you do recognize maybe this isn't the long-term solution, you still have the contract that you can shop around and get something, so you don't feel like total crap if you have to move away from the option. Because right now he will be known as, like the one that got away, because he is such a great player and will instantly can take any team and make them a no name, into a contender. So yeah, it's just a horrible situation for Baltimore.
Well, and they're really in a place where they have to sign him long term, because to tag him is going to cost them around $50 million. If you sign him to a long term contract, at least you can spread some of that hit out. But they're going to take a massive hit if they have to tag him. He's going to take 25% of their salary next year. And then you're talking about, well, how do you fit wide receivers around him? You then are stuck with the Sammy Watkins and the Rashad Bateman on a rookie contract, and maybe Deshaun Jackson, who will turn 47 next year. They're not in a good situation. And but man, he's a tremendous talent, and obviously we want to see him back healthy, and hopefully he is by the playoffs, because boy, that AFC will be stacked with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. Maybe we get Trevor Lawrence in there as well. Who would be this? Mac Jones obviously fits right in with all those guys. If the Patriots get in,
Big Mac.
Don't forget about Mike White.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, well, he's not. Sadly he can't get. Tua can get in, and maybe we can get your boy Kenny Pickett in there too, if the Steelers can sneak in. The big Kenny Pickett versus Josh Allen showdown that we've all been looking forward to seeing in the postseason. That's how rivalries are born. All right. Well, that is all 16 games, and we got a little extra talking about our, again, one of the best players to watch, and everything about Lamar Jackson is he's just a good dude that people in the neighborhood, people in the neighborhood, but throughout all of Baltimore, not just the neighborhood he lives in, they just love the guy. He's a great face for that franchise, and he deserves to be a Raven for life, I think, because the city just loves him. They embrace him, and he seems like such a good dude. All right. Our final segment, our final regular season, favorites are top dogs and our easy money line picks. Now, Tommy, you won our game at the beginning of the show, so you get to pick first. So please tell me, for this week, week 18, who is your favorite of the week?
My favorite is going to have to be the Kansas City -9.
All right, KC -9. And I will be very angry if you just put the kiss of death on them. All right. Your top dog, please.
Top dog, I'm going to go with Detroit +4.5.
Ooh, that's fun.
Wow. All right. The Detroit Lions. And your money line pick, please.
My money line pick is going to be the Texans +120. I think that's what it is.
126.
Oh, I like that even more.
126 on the Houston Texans. All right, Ben, your favorite of week 18.
My favorite is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh, I had them on my list. 2.5 is the spread there. All right, your top dog, please.
Top dog. Sorry, it's a pick 'em, but I'm gonna take the Miami Dolphins at +1.
That was also on my list.
Cool. I'm gonna go for 3 for 3 here.
And your easy money line pick, please.
My easy money line is going to be. You didn't take the Houston money line, did you? Or did you take?
He
Yeah,
did.
took the
Tommy
Houston
took
money
the
line.
Tommy took
Oh,
the Houston
sorry.
money line.
I'm gonna take Detroit money line.
Detroit money line.
Ooh, what's the money
I
line on
don't-
that looking like?
I don't have that written down, but I'll find
me,
it here.
Golden. That's what it is.
186. I just checked USA Wager. So
186. All right.
that's beautiful.
186. All right. I am going to take for my favorite, the Dallas Cowboys at 5.5.
Solid.
My top dog, your Denver Broncos.
Oh,
Let's
Kyle!
ride. Let me
Get
hear
it,
it,
get it.
Kyle. Let's ride.
Let's ride, baby. 3.5 points. And then my easy
So
money
lucky.
line, I am going to take the Carolina Panthers at +156.
My world has shattered today.
The Denver Broncos. I'm going to be rooting for the Denver Broncos on Sunday. I cannot wait. I don't think I've done that in
It's a full
Ever?
blue
I've never done
moon.
that either. We're all in the same boat here.
Crazy.
All right. Well, that is the end of our Week 18 show, but don't you worry. We will be back next week to break down the first round of the playoffs, Super Wild Card Weekend. I hope they still call it that. Who knows what's going to happen? The NFL a little slow to make some decisions right now. But we'll be here regardless of what the show looks like. Thank you so much for tuning in. To my co-hosts, Tommy Birch and Ben O'Connell, thank you to you guys. Our sponsors at USA Wager, we thank them for a great regular season of football. We will continue to get our point spreads from them. And for the Sports 2.0 Network, who also is a big part of this show. Thank you very much. And of course, to you, our lovely people who are watching us on YouTube, listening to us on podcasts. We thank you so much for giving us your football season, and we look forward to an excellent postseason coming up starting next week. On behalf of Tommy and Ben, I am Kyle Growlett. Happy wagering. Good luck, everybody.
Broncos country, decide on a new coach soon, please.
It's coming.